They told the world it was just regulation, a cleanup, a fraud prevention measure. But think about what it really means. 86 million bank accounts in Vietnam, gone in one sweep. Accounts frozen, terminated, deleted, and no matter how they spin it, you can't erase 86 million without raising the question, was this about security or was it about control? The headlines say these were inactive, unverified, or unused accounts. But 86 million is nearly one account for every man, woman, and child in Vietnam. And this isn't happening in isolation. It's happening in a moment when banks across the world are collapsing, currencies are under attack, and central banks are rolling out digital systems designed to replace cash altogether. Put the pieces together, and what looks like regulation starts to look like a test run for the financial reset. Why would they do this now? Let's start with the numbers. Out of roughly 200 million accounts in Vietnam, only about 113 million are considered active and compliant. That means nearly half of the financial system was wiped in one stroke. Half, and the requirement? Biometric verification, facial scans, fingerprints, DNA-level identity. No biometric, no account. No account, no access. In other words, if you don't submit your body to the system, you're erased from it. And doesn't that sound familiar? Because what do we see in Europe, in the US, in Canada? A relentless push toward digital IDs, a push towards central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, that tie every transaction to your identity. A push toward cashless societies where you don't own your money anymore. You just lease it under conditions set by the system. Vietnam's 86 million terminations are not an isolated event. They're a preview, a warning shot, a message about where this is all headed. The official line is fraud prevention. But ask yourself, how much fraud could possibly justify erasing 86 million accounts? Why not freeze suspicious ones individually, case by case? Why not allow people more time to comply? Why do it in one sudden sweeping purge? The answer is simple, because this isn't about fraud. This is about obedience. It's about testing whether a government can flip a switch and delete half the country's accounts without sparking revolt. And guess what? It worked. And then there's the symbolism. The number 86 itself carries meaning. In slang, 86 means to cancel, to wipe out, to eliminate. Coincidence? Or was it chosen deliberately as a ritualistic code? When the cabal stages events, numbers aren't accidents. They're signals. 33 hours, 33 million, 47 accounts, over and over the same fingerprints. So when you see 86 million accounts terminated, don't write it off as random. Recognize it for what it is, a statement. Look closer and you'll see who benefits. Developers and corporations who no longer have to compete with the financial chaos of small account holders. Banks that get to consolidate power by wiping away messy, dormant ledgers. Governments who gain biometric data on every compliant citizen. And elites who inch us one step closer to a one-world financial grid. The losers, ordinary people. Those who don't have smartphones. Those who live rural, far from biometric centers. The elderly, the poor, the disconnected. The same people who always get crushed in the gears of control. And what happens to the money in those accounts? That's the question nobody seems to answer. Billions in frozen balances. Do they get returned, or do they get absorbed, redistributed, swallowed by the system? History shows us what usually happens. When the system takes your money, it rarely gives it back. Cyprus in 2013, Canada in 2022. Bank freezes are never temporary. They're practice runs for seizure. Now zoom out. Why Vietnam? Why now? Because Vietnam sits at the crossroads of East and West, a fast-growing economy plugged into global supply chains, but tightly controlled by a single-party system. In other words, the perfect laboratory. If a government can delete 86 million accounts there without sparking collapse, what stops governments in Europe or North America from trying the same thing? Vietnam is the beta test for the financial reset. And don't forget, the system is already under pressure. Inflation rising, banks failing, digital currencies being rolled out as the solution. But a solution to what? A solution to crises they engineered. Starve people of cash, destabilize currencies, then swoop in with a shiny new app that promises stability in exchange for total control. It's the same playbook over and over again. Problem, reaction, solution. And the solution is always more control. So ask yourself, if they can delete 86 million accounts in Vietnam, what's stopping them from deleting yours? What happens when you say the wrong thing online? When you refuse a new mandate? When your political opinions don't align with the system? With biometric verification tied to your account, you don't just risk losing money, you risk losing access to life itself. Food, housing, transportation, medicine, all cut off with the flip of a switch. Still think this is just about fraud? Then explain why, right after the purge was announced, stories about cyber attacks and digital insecurity suddenly hit the news. Fear, conditioning, priming the people to accept biometric control as safety. But what's safety when the very thing you're being protected from is engineered to herd you into the system? It's the wolf offering protection from wolves, and people are falling for it. And here's the most chilling part. Vietnam isn't the end game. It's the pilot episode. Once the system proves it can erase accounts on a massive scale, other governments will follow. Watch China, watch the European Union, watch the US as the FedNow system slowly morphs into a CBDC. They won't call it deletion, they'll call it compliance, they'll call it security, but the effect will be the same. Millions locked out of financial life overnight, millions forced to surrender biometric data to get back in, millions too afraid to speak out, because speaking out means being 86th. Do you see the pattern? Control disguised as safety, erasure disguised as regulation, biometric surveillance disguised as modernization. Vietnam just showed us the blueprint. The only question left is, will we pay attention? Because if you think this can't happen where you live, you're already behind. Canada froze accounts during the trucker protests. The US floated digital ID proposals. The EU is piloting digital wallets tied to your carbon footprint. One wrong move and you're locked out. Vietnam's 86 million is not a story about them. It's a warning about us. So the next time you hear about inactive accounts being deleted, remember, what they call inactive today, they can call non-compliant tomorrow. And when the switch flips, it won't matter how much money you have. What matters is whether you obey. You be the judge. If you're awake, you already know what to do. Hit the link in our description and sign up to our free underground newsletter.